On first and goal, Galette to the end zone. Catch is made, and is he in? Yes, he is! Touchdown, Bulldogs!
See what's going on right now. I'm
Quincy
on the
Hall.
field. And the Bulldogs just scored. This is insane. 9.5 seconds left in the game, and we are up 25-20. Let's go, Bulldogs. Bite down.
Bulldog Stadium, where the final score here was 54-0. Bowie State. I am here with Bowie State's quarterback, Kevin Taylor. 3 TDs, 235 total yards. Outstanding performance. Take me through the week preparation to
open up Kashane Hickley for his second touchdown in the game, and this pretty much wraps it up for Bowie State. 41-14 was the final score of the game, and I ain't gonna lie, man, Bowie State had a lot to say after the game. They heard the talk, they heard the critics, but they want y'all to know that they ain't going nowhere, and they ain't ducking no smoke.
This is exactly what you don't do. You don't schedule us for your homecoming because we go to the
Get in there.
All right, what's going on, good people? This is Clarence Jr. breaking down the Bulldogs, and we have a lot to get into tonight, but let's just start with this. I want to start with this. Much appreciation to Coach Kyle Jackson. Much appreciation to Coach Kyle Jackson. Former Bulldog player and assistant coach turned interim coach turned head coach. Had a lot of good moments and a lot of bright spots at Bowie State University. I just played a few of them there. One of them was first game, beat ranked New Haven at home, got that win. Blew out Virginia State for their homecoming that same year. 2 years ago, had a 50-point shutout at home for homecoming. Beat Division I Delaware State at Delaware State a few years ago. So there's been some good times, some good flashes, some good moments. Sometimes when you're thinking, oh, this is good. Not to mention multiple winning seasons as the head coach at Bowie State University. And so much love and respect to Coach Kyle Jackson. A true Bulldog. I'm sure that Coach Jackson will land on his feet some way, somehow, for sure. And it is unfortunate that this happens right now with the holidays right around the corner. But like I said, I'm sure that Coach Jackson will land on his feet. And I can only speak for myself. I can say I appreciate what he did and the effort that he put in. Because you have to understand, you're starting off and you're an assistant coach under the coach that you played for. And the coach that you played for is having astronomical success, and you're climbing up the ranks as a coach, enjoying the ride, building up your resume, learning the craft. And then because the coach is so successful, he gets a job offer. And now your learning curve, your career arc has been sped up. Like the position that you're in, you probably wanted to be there, but probably in another 2 or 3 years. And so to just jump into that and have multiple winning seasons, hey, man, once again, shout out, salute to Coach Kyle Jackson, But I'm sure at this point we've all seen or heard the news. Bowie State has decided not to renew his contract. We're going to go ahead and read what was put out by the university today. Let me go ahead and there we go. Actually, yeah. All right. So this is at 12 p.m. today. Bowie State University Athletics announces leadership change for football program. The Department of Athletics at Bowie State University has made the decision not to renew Kyle Jackson's contract as head coach of the football program. Bowie State will begin a nationwide search for the next head football coach immediately. On behalf of the Bulldogs, I want to extend our sincere gratitude to Coach Kyle Jackson for the meaningful impact he has made on our football program, both as a player and as a dedicated coach over the last 11 years, said Clyde Dowdy Jr., Vice President of Intercollegiate Athletics and Recreation. We are grateful for his commitment to our student athletes and the lasting contributions he leaves behind, and we wish him well in his future endeavors. As we look ahead, we believe new leadership will be best. We believe new leadership will best position the program for its next chapter of sustained excellence. We remain fully committed to investing in our football program and ensure that our student athletes and the next head coach have the resources and support needed to seize this opportunity. Jackson compiled a 19-21 record, including a 10-16 mark in the Central Intercollegiate Athletic Association Conference. He was named the 10th head coach for the Bowie State University program in January 2023 after serving as in an interim capacity during the 2022 season. He was previously the recruiting coordinator and linebackers coach at Bowie State for 5 seasons. Prior to his return to BSU, Jackson spent the 2015 season at Division II Emporia State University as a defensive graduate assistant. And so this is what I mean by, he did a good job considering the situation. To go from, and where was that? To go from the recruiting coordinator and the linebackers coach to head coach like that, and to start it off with back-to-back winning seasons, you gotta salute that. But ultimately, the issue was you went 6-4, but then 4-6, and then 3-7. So it started to dip down. The 10-16 mark in the conference. That's really what it was. It was it was one thing, and we've talked about this before. It was one thing when you lose to Virginia State, Virginia Union, maybe even Fayetteville State. But once some of the 2 out of 3 to Livingstone and, Elizabeth City State for homecoming, that's, ultimately though, and we all know what happened. We all know what took place. Ultimately, the issue was that offense buried them. Oh, we're gonna get into that. I will. Matter of fact, real quick, why do you say that? Why don't you see that? But okay, why is that? Riddle me that. But we'll get into that. Ultimately, though, it was the offense that led to the end of Kyle Jackson. Because if we're going to be real and just completely unbiased, the defense, for the most part, my bad. The defense, for the most part, these last 4 years has been very good, if not great, at different times. The issue has been the offense. Who was brought in to run the offense and who was kept on running the offense was ultimately what caused everything to come apart. You just can't win consistently, if at all, towards the end with that type of offense. You just can't. You can't. And I said this one in real time when it happened. The last straw, the straw that broke the camel's back, more than likely was the blown lead at home to ECSU for homecoming. That was probably like the last straw, And it's unfortunate. But with that being said, I've done some thinking and I put in some thought into who we might go after. Some of these, one of these is actually, I think, is controversial just because I don't know if that's how we do things in the CIAA, but we're going to get into them. There's a few guys. Now, as time goes on, I'll probably do another show at some point next week as I do a little bit more digging and try to come up with a few more names. But just, right now I got 4 or 5. Next week, I'll probably come up with another 4 or 5, and we'll talk about that. But for right now, let's get into the ones that I already have. So we're going to start with a Bowie State alum who's doing this thing on fire right now. All right. We're going to start with Naima Washington. All right. He's the offensive coordinator at Delaware State University. All right. Let's look at, matter of fact, I got it right here. Let's look at the statistics and the rankings for his offense at Delaware State. All right. Once again, a former Bulldog. All right. Let's look at the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference in their 2025 football standings. So offense, Delaware State is the second ranked offense in the conference at 34 points a game. All right. But let's look a little more deeper into that. They're the number 1 rushing offense in the conference at 277 yards a game. They have 32 rushing touchdowns, 6 yards a carry, over 3,000 yards rushing on the season. All right. Let's look at passing. They're not even really a passing team like that, but even with that, 167 passing yards, 10 touchdowns, 1,800 yards passing. Basically 8 yards an attempt as well in the passing game. All right. But what really jumped out to me about Coach Washington was this interview I saw him do not too long ago after Delaware State has upset North Carolina Central at North Carolina Central for their homecoming. So we're going to get into that interview. But hold on. It says job is iffy. He has momentum. Yes, he does have momentum, but at the same time, it's like, it's a head coaching position at your alma mater. I know some of you have the impression that, Deshaun Jackson is hot, so he's going to take another position. And at some point, he probably will. But I don't think he's going to do that after 1 year. Like even Coach Prime, he didn't leave Jackson after 1 year. So I don't think D-Jack is leaving at least for another 2 more years, or at least another year for sure. So we'll see. All right, so let's get into this interview because this was really jumped out to me. All right, where is it? Here we go. Listen to Coach Nemo Washington speak about offense, and this what really jumped out to me.
Down things up, man. Like what is this that you guys are creating over at Delaware State?
I mean, well, one, I appreciate Coach Jack and for the opportunity. Deuce Staley introduced us. I came over from the Cleveland Browns. The first time we talked on the phone, we hit it off. Like it almost felt like a match made in heaven when he was talking. I was talking. Like, man, we relate. We both young. And he said, he told me what his vision was. And then I told him what my vision was as an offense, because I ran my own offense when I was even younger at a school in West Virginia called Wheeling University.
Already ran his own offense. Okay, I'm listening, right?
The slide offense, and then our motto is no need to retaliate if you slide first. And he was like, "Oh, I like that." Yeah, I said, I like it too, just because now it's something the kids can buy into. And he's like, "That's what we're going with them." He said, bring it here. We, let's take it. Let's make it known. And to his credit, he believed in my vision, and I believed in his vision more important because he's the head of this whole program, and his voice was going to ring throughout the program. And we've been all on that same page. And then now seeing the kids buy in, they done bought all the way in. From the time we got here in January to see where it is now, it's just like night and day. Like we was talking about as a staff the other day, laughing like, man, like sometimes you do that. We know we ain't done. Let me be very clear. We know we're not done. That's what we excited about the win, but we had to sit back and like, man, how these guys are like, we're just excited that they are finally seeing and believing in themselves. Like there was talent here. No one believes that. I was getting this in too, but it really was talent here. And then we just brought some other talent to go along with it. And now you guys are starting to see, what it looks like. So it's been crazy, to be honest with you.
I absolutely love it, Coach. My question to you is, when did you feel like, because I assume that when Deshaun Jackson stepped in the building, I remember Deshaun Jackson at Cal. I was watching clips of him in high school, and I'm expecting Philly, and I'm expecting, I told a friend of mine, I said I'm expecting Washington Redskins, Michael Vick, 30-yard bombs. But when did you see what you had, and you're like, you know what? I got this boy Gillis, I got this boy James, I got Caden. We just gonna do this. And Clinton Portis talks about he can go 3, 4, 5 deep if need be. When did you say, like, you know what? This is our bread and butter, and we're gonna really push this going forward?
This is what jumped out to me. This is what I was like, oh yeah. Listen to this answer.
To be honest, it was like part of the interview process. I told him, I said, hey, I know you're a receiver, but I'm gonna be personnel driven. Because you have to be. And when I'm asking now, look, bro, we got 4 receivers that can flat out go. Let's do it. I'm with it because my background, I'm a quarterback. I threw the ball around a lot. And then at Bowie State, when I was coaching, we led the country in passing. But I was like, at Willing, I had 2 really good backs that were dogs, and I had to get them on the field. So we may run the ball. I said, bro, I just want to win a game. He said, however we do it, just get it done.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so all right, we come in the spring. I see Gillis. We had another quarterback, Marquis Adam. And I'm like, I ain't gonna lie, this may look different, but bro, it's gonna explode. He said, I'm with it, I don't care. Then we go get James. Then we got Kobe. We already had Jink. We brought Caden in. And then we got James Ray too. And it was like, we got to play around with, these are some of our better players. Let's just go for it. Let's be all in. He said, bro, get the job done. I don't care what it looks like.
Oh my goodness. When I heard that, I said, listen, I don't need to hear no more. I don't need to hear nothing else. Once I heard that, that was all I needed to hear. Did you hear his offensive philosophy? His offensive philosophy was personnel driven, meaning our offense is whatever our best players say our offense is going to be. That's all I needed to hear. That's all I needed to hear. Our offense is whoever our best personnel says it is. Say no more. That's all I need to hear. Right? But I hear a lot of people saying he's hot right now. Nemo. I mean, he might go to FCS. Possible. But hey, ain't no harm in throwing it out there. Plus, this ain't the only one. I got some more bullets in the gun. Let's go to the next one. I got a controversial one. I'm not going to go to that one yet. Shout out to Barbecue on Cole, man. Shout out to the homie. Definitely hit him up, and he got his. I got to buy his seasoning, matter of fact. But hit up Big Cole for his grilling seasoning. All right, that's right. Bowie State in the building, right? All right. Next one we have. I'm gonna go with here we go. I'm going as they go up. There's more and more controversial. Next, another Bowie State alum, Antoine Sewell, the defensive coordinator for the Morgan State University Bears. Now, here's the thing about this one. We've been struggling with offense. And that's the only reason why I'm looking at this one like, does it solve one of the problems that we have? But either way, Antoine Sewell, served as defensive coordinator at Bowie State, allowed on average under less than 14 points a game as defensive coordinator. Also was in the SWAC for 5 seasons under Henry Frazier and at Prairie View. The resume is there. 4-year letterman at Bowie State. Defensive MVP in 2001. Went to the championship game. All CIAA. Lots of experience. Right now, he's the assistant head coach, defensive coordinator at Morgan State University. He's had great defenses everywhere he's went. Bowie State, Prairie View, Morgan State. Right? Hey, there's another one right there. Oh, shout out to Cole. He was on that team, 7-3, championship game. That's what's up. Yeah, well, I mean, we're going to score more points just by the offensive coordinator who's not there no more. We're going to score more points by default at this point, right? Yeah, Douglas McNeil. Okay, yeah, I'm familiar with him as well. You saying for head coach, or are you saying for OC under Sewell? Let me see what you're saying. Hold on. All right, so that's the second one. The next one, my real controversial one that people probably not going to see the vision for, I'm going to save that one for last. The next one, it's like kind of obvious, but it is what it is. All right. Obviously, it all depends on what happens. Honestly, I think what's that last? The last game is North Carolina Central. But if I'm going to be 100% honest, just being from Baltimore and being in the HBCU space, I'm gonna be real. I've heard quite a few people kind of becoming restless, with the progress at Morgan State. I'm going to be real. I've been hearing alumni kind of, upset and becoming restless with the results. And the thing with Morgan State is not that Morgan State is bad, because Morgan State is competitive and they have been and had a chance to win. It's actually funny because Bowie State and Morgan State actually kind of paralleled each other this year. Two teams that were in a lot of games, possibly could have won a lot of different games, but wound up losing a lot of competitive games because of the offense. But I want to take you guys back for a little bit, because a lot of you, it seems so long ago. Exactly. Us and them. That's the funny part. It's like Bowie State and Morgan State went through the exact same thing this year. I want to take y'all back for a second, though, because a lot of you probably don't remember this. But from the very beginning of Coach Wilson at Morgan State, remember, early in the season, when he first got there, they were ranked in the top 25 because they had beaten some very good FCS competition. And remember, they were on their way to winning another FCS non-conference game. I think it was on the road. I think it was it? It might have been Toledo. It was some FCS. It was some FCS school. They were ranked because they had just beat a FCS school the week before, and they were on their way to beating another FCS school on the road again and moving up in the rankings. And in that game, it was like I'm talking about like the game was in hand. They were running out the clock, and there was a fumble, and I think the fumble was returned for a touchdown or something fluky like that, and Morgan State wound up losing that game, and they wound up falling out of the top 25. And that was kind of like a sign of things to come, because over the years at Morgan State, there's been game after game after game, opportunity after opportunity where, for whatever reason, it just didn't happen. They just couldn't find a way to get over the hump. And now here we are. And at this point, it's kind of, once again, it's so parallel to our situation, because it was one thing to be behind Fayetteville State and Virginia State and Virginia Union. But when you start falling behind some of the other teams, it is like, hold on. It was the same thing for Morgan. One thing to be behind Central. It's one thing to be behind South Carolina State. But once you start to fall behind Howard and you fall behind Delaware State, now you're looking at 5th place. Now it's like, hold on. Now you are at the bottom. Now that's a problem. Even though you can visibly look at the product and say it's a lot more competitive, at the end of the day, where you finish in the standings is where you finish in the standings. I'm trying to find that game so y'all know what I'm talking about. I think it was like Toledo or somebody. It was like the way they lost that game. Oh, it was a fumble. It was like, how do you lose that game? I think it was Toledo, somebody like that. No, it was Akron. That's what it was. Matter of fact, let me show y'all this, because y'all probably don't remember what I'm talking about. Yes, that's what it was, Akron. They were ranked. It was looking like Morgan was going to be off to the races. And there we go. Certain things, it's just like, how does this happen? It just don't make sense. Like, this is the kind of stuff that's been happening. It's just very.
2nd and 10. They can get.
It is 21-17. It is 1 minute and 15 seconds left in this game. They are about to beat Akron at Akron. Huge win.
Get a first down without scoring a touchdown. Under Kuffler. Looking back of the end zone, and it's intercepted.
Listen, all of you know the ESPN win probability, right? Once you get this interception in the red zone with 1 minute and 8 seconds left, the win probability is at 98%. But man, some of the most unlucky things are happening. Look, this is crazy.
What a play! The defensive job by Jordan Tolles to pick it off.
Second interception of the game for Jordan Tolles. He had the long one up the sideline. And here with the game on the line, Jordan Tolles.
Look at that. The fans are leaving. The home fans.
Tolles has intercepted under Kuffler.
Here on the road and a chance to start out 2-0 in 2 games where they were underdogs. And now they got one less timeout because of it. Handoff up the middle. I think you're going to lose to. And to be in this situation where you have 3rd down and 9. And it's a fumble! And Akron has a chance to pick it up! It's a touchdown! Are you kidding me? Brian McCoy scores the...
Bro. Stuff like this, man. That's crazy. I remember when I saw this, I said, you got ain't no way. Ain't no way. That's just one example. Stuff like this has been happening for 4 years, and at this point, I really think it's a lot of Morgan faithful just like, you know what, man? I think they're ready to move on. So, if for some reason Morgan State decides that they don't want to continue on with Coach Damon Wilson, hey, come on home. Come on home. we got a spot for you. Come on back. Right? So that's the third option right there. Now, fourth. Now, this is pretty controversial, right? Because I don't know how acceptable it is in CIAA culture to steal a coach from another school. I don't know how, if people take that too kindly, you know. I don't know if that's one of the unwritten rules in the CIAA, you know. I don't. But listen, I'm gonna just go ahead and pull it up. Because listen, it is what it is at this point. Some of you might not see the vision, but listen, I like Lamar Manigo. I feel as though, me personally, I've seen enough in his 1 year at Shaw that tells me he's going to be a real good football coach. I've seen enough in 1 year. So I said, you know what? I like him. If there's a chance that you could take him from Shaw, I would strongly consider doing that. I'm not going to lie to you, right? Let's go ahead and look at the bio. He was the offensive coordinator at Shaw from 2016 to 2021. He was an assistant coach, offensive coordinator, and quarterbacks coach at Virginia State. And so here's the thing. We've looked at Wilson coming back, and we looked at Sewell coming. Those are two defensive coaches where you're kind of like, how's the offense going to go? Well, you just got to have, they'll figure it out, right? Nemo is the offensive guy, but he may have some opportunities at the Division I level. But here we have Manigo. He's an offensive guy, former Bowie State player. Hey, I'm telling you, I like Coach Manigo. I like Coach Manigo. I do. Let me tell you why. For him to do what he did this year, for him to do what he did this year at Shaw, outstanding job. He did an outstanding job this year at Shaw. Because you have to understand, Shaw was basically starting over. Because Adrian Jones was, I don't know how you would put, I guess, did not return to Shaw, and he went over to Elizabeth City State. With him, a lot of players also went. So you got a first-year head coach and a completely turned over roster. And let me just show you what he did at Shaw University this year. I was like, oh, okay. Okay. Let me show you this. So Shaw University this year, Let's see. Oh, no, I don't want to look at that. What am I looking for? Now I can't find it. Here we go. Oh, computer acting silly. Shaw University. There were two games that Shaw had this year that jumped out to me. The first one was Lincoln University. For them to start the year the way they started the year, losing to Division II Ferrum, and this was Ferrum's first year Division II, and they lost that game. For them to come off of that game, go to Lincoln, and completely dominate Lincoln when you know Lincoln was looking at, oh man, we could finally get a win. We could finally get a win. We got Shaw coming. For Shaw to go to Lincoln and do what they did to Lincoln, that raised my antennas. But then, for Shaw to do what they did to Winston-Salem State, that's when I said, oh, okay. Once again, I'm sure a lot of you may not see the vision, but I saw what he did this year in his first year at Shaw, and I said, oh, yeah, he can coach. I look at what Manigault did at Shaw this year, and I say, what if he had this year's Bowie State football team? What would it have looked like? How many games would we have won? How many points would we have scored? So once again, I don't know if it's like an unwritten rule in the CIAA that you don't take coaches from other schools, but I'll tell you this. Let's just say the Nemo thing doesn't fall through. Let's just say Wilson stays at Morgan. Or he leaves Morgan but says, you know what, I'm going to take some time off, or I'm going to take a different job because, you know, Bowie already won there. Let me see if I can win somewhere else. So he don't come. All right? What I'm saying is, listen, man, I'd make a call up there in Shaw, and hey, what's it going to take for you to come on home? Because I'm telling you, Lamar Manigault has a very bright future in this coaching profession in the CIAA and beyond. I'm telling you, man. So those are just a few names. I see people saying Henry Frazier. I don't see him doing that just because. Why? Not saying like from a, you know. Yes, happy holidays to Livingstone as well. Happy holidays to y'all. Man, it's a lot. Oh, and that seeing that just brought this point to my mind. For all of you Bowie State athletes who may or may not see this, all I would say is just hold off on the portal. I wouldn't jump in just yet. I would wait and see. I'll wait and see who we get. I would wait and see. We better get the ball rolling soon, though. But I would wait and see. Especially if you're someone who you didn't have the year that you wanted to have because of the system that we had in place. It's going to be difficult to get to the spot that you want to get to anyway if you don't have the numbers because of the staff from this year anyway. So I think for a lot of you, it might be smarter to just wait, honestly. Because I'm not going to say names because it's not about that, but I've seen quite a few people in multiple sports that decide, you know what, I'm going to get into the portal and I'm going to leave the CIAA. I'm going to leave Bowie State. I'm going to leave this one. I'm going to leave that one. And they get into the portal and you look the next season and you type in their name to try to find out what school they landed at, and they didn't land anywhere. They're not on anybody's roster. I've seen a few people do that across the CIAA. Get into the portal, and the next season rolls around, they're not playing nowhere. I've seen this in multiple sports. I've seen guys have a decent year, a good year in the CIAA, and they get into the portal and they wind up playing NAIA. You go from D2, CIAA, NAIA. I've seen guys have an okay year in the CIAA, get into the portal, and they pretty much make a lateral move to another D2 school. Only difference is at this Division II school, you're getting less playing times than you were at the school you was at. It's a few basketball players that's happening to right now. You were one of the key guys at your school last basketball season. You got into the portal, and you are at another Division II school where the conference and the prestige of the conference and the school is really not higher than the CIAA. You made a lateral move, and you're not even playing. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is just think about it. That's all I'm saying. Just think about it before you do it, you know? I know we see Kenyon Gardner from Livingstone, and you know, but once again, he had like 16 sacks. So it's like okay, if you a Division II All-American, you got 16 sacks. Okay, yeah, you could probably jump in. You're gonna go FCS, but listen, you didn't go first team all conference or second team or rookie team. You had an okay year, and hey, salute to you. That's what's up. But at the same time, all I would say is just hold off. Just hold off. Because I know when you jumping in the portal, you're not jumping in the portal to go to another CIAA school. You get into the portal because you're thinking but we ain't gonna get into all that. Yeah, I do agree with you on that. They need to hear something soon. So they need to figure out something soon. I will say that. But I'm gonna be real with you. When we talk about soon, I don't know how soon it's gonna be. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like if I had to put a timeline on it, let's see. It's the end of November. We know the holiday is next week. They're not making no announcement next week. That's for sure. Then they're gonna have a couple of weeks before it's Christmas break. They're not gonna make an announcement. It'll be. Y'all supposed to have one by the start of December. We're not gonna have one by the start of December. I can tell you that because it's the 21st right now. Thanksgiving is next week. It's not happening. So I could be wrong. I'm not gonna lie to you though. I would not be surprised if I don't even want to say this because it's like that sounds crazy, but I wouldn't be surprised if it happened if we had to wait till the second week in January. I would not be surprised just because of when this took place. It's not going to be an announcement within the next week. That's not going to happen. And if it doesn't happen before Christmas, it's not going to happen until it's not going to happen until the second week in January. So that's the thing. It's like the spot that we're in right now. If it doesn't happen by, I'm gonna pull up the calendar. If we don't hear anything by, let me go December. If you don't hear anything by December 19th, which is the week before Christmas, you're not going to hear anything probably until the week of the 12th, probably. Because I just don't foresee anything happening. Listen. You man, don't piss me off, man. We better not. Especially when he said we doing a nationwide search. You don't do a nationwide search and then pick an interim coach that you already know from. Nah, that ain't gonna fly. No, we can't do that again. It makes sense because it makes sense that we did that this time because of how quickly things happen. That made sense. But this time when you're actively deciding to let someone go, you don't do that and then get an interim. Nah. No. No, absolutely not. I know he said that, but no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. We know it wasn't. We know what happened. What happened was Wilson got a job at Morgan. It was kind of late in the game, so we elevated somebody on staff. Hey, that first year, once again, they beat a ranked team at home. They beat Virginia State at their homecoming. They went 6-4. So they said, you know what? Okay, we're going to roll the dice with this. That's what happened. It was no nationwide search. I know they might have said that, but no, it wasn't. But this time, when you say I'm going to let somebody go, there's no excuse to not do a search. So, it's really not. Should, yes. So, hey, I'm telling you, if you don't hear anything by December 16th, you won't hear anything until mid-January. I don't see it. I think the same thing. I think Smith got that one in the bag. I think CIAA, this is not related topic, but the CIAA is going to have a good weekend, in my estimation. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. And I'm pulling up the union tomorrow, so that's gonna be fun. He said Fayetteville. Fayetteville was like, "Oh, y'all took our code, we're gonna take you." But listen, Fayetteville State can do stuff like that because they've been successful in basketball. See, when you win and you can do stuff that's kind of like, but people won't say nothing because you're winning. But when you're not winning, no. I understand why they wanted Bluefield's coach too. Because he's let's be real, a lot younger, probably more hungrier. So it made sense. But man, I wonder how that went over though. Because you don't typically see a whole lot of, we're going to take this coach from this other school. So, but I would have liked to be the fly on the wall. Plus, it was Bluefield, though. And Bluefield's like, Bluefield. So it's like you can take their coach and, if they get mad about it, so what? I do think it'll be different, though, with Shaw. Like if Bowie State actively went after Shaw University's football coach, I do think some people would frown upon that. Like, it's one thing for Fayetteville State to go after Bluefield's coach. It'd be something else for somebody because, Shaw has a very, very strong history. So that'd be different. I mean, I would probably still do it anyway, but I'm not going to lie. I think some people would have some issue with that. But hey, like I said, I'm gonna come up with some more names. Those are just a few that, because I ain't gonna lie, I've been sitting on those names for a little while, right? I think it was after the Virginia State loss, I said, let me start making a list. Honestly. Now I kept it in the tuck. I ain't say nothing about it, but after that Fayetteville State, after the Virginia State, because the Virginia State was the third one. After that one, I was let me start thinking of a short list, But Now that we're at this point, I'm going to put in some more thought and come up with some more names. And I'll try to come up with some more names that don't have Bowie State ties or maybe even HBCU ties. Because I'm not going to lie. Oftentimes, when it comes to HBCU sports, we tend to get caught up on who is an alma mater, who is familiar with the school, who has experience in this conference. But sometimes you got to get out of that and see if you can find the best coach. You know? I think we kind of saw that with Southern University. Oh, who has ties to Southern? Who used to work at Southern? Who used to work in the conference? You kind of, you know, sometimes you just got to see if you can find the best guy that's willing to take the job, right? And so there you have it. That's my list for right now. At some point during the next week, I'll come up with some more names. But I appreciate y'all for coming through once again. Much love and much respect to Coach Kyle Jackson. I'm sure you'll land on your feet. Still a Bulldog for life. But once again, ultimately, it was the OC lost everybody their job. That's really, let's just call it what it is. The OC got everybody fired. But at the end of the day, as the head coach, and I said this before, you know. At a certain point in time, you have to see the writing on the wall, and you have to say, you know what? How it's looking right now, it's either going to be him or it's going to be me. And if I need to save my job, he got to go. By you holding on to the guy and not letting him go, that's the issue. That's ultimately what it was, man. But like I said, man, much love and respect to everybody on the staff. There's a lot of good brothers on the staff, but you go 6-4, then drop to 4-6, then drop to 3-7. Ultimately, it was just too much to overcome. That's ultimately what it was, you know? But I'm going to let y'all enjoy the rest of y'all Friday night. Plus, we got to get rest because we got to get over to Johnson C. Smith. We got to get over to Union. So I'm going to highlight at y'all, you know? Hold on, man. See, I was just about to get up out of here, and I still am. But man, why you have to ask that question? I had to stop the song just because you said that. Listen, let's talk about this for a quick second, because I'm not going to say that, but what I will say is there's a couple of things that I'm watching. Right, I'm watching this next hire. In terms of who he's able to get as the head football coach and how quickly he's able to get it done. And I'm also looking at one of the sports I don't want to talk about it right now because I don't want to do that, but I'm talking cold, right? I'm looking at a sport that's taking place right now and I'm watching how the season goes, right? And depending on how the season goes, I'm going to watch and see what is done there, how quickly that's done, and who's brought in for that. Because there's another sport that's kind of been struggling for some time now when historically we've been strong in that sport. And so we're going to see what happens this year and what's done about it. Also, we're going to see what's done with this hire. And then, listen, there's two main sports that you got to get right. Listen, I understand volleyball is looking real good right now. They just moved on to the next round of the championship. I understand. Softball, 3 straight championships. I understand that. But listen, there's 2 very big sports that you have to get right. And those 2 sports, one of them we know is football. I'm not going to say the other one because, listen, man, I don't want to offend my political connects. I'll say it like that, right? But listen, if you pay attention to Bowie State athletics, you know what sport I'm talking about. And depending on how this year goes, hey, man, we can't just keep nickel and diming and 1-year extension. And no, at a certain point, so when as far as your question about the AD, listen, it all comes down to what is being done about the 2 main sports on campus so that they can be competitive, right? It's one thing to be competing for national championships and all of that. It's another thing to be competing for conference championships. And then it's another thing to be perpetually at the bottom. Like that, no. Especially because now that I've been doing this for some years now, and I've traveled to a lot of different schools, I've seen a lot of the different facilities and the gyms and the stuff. Listen, in terms of location and facilities and buzz around the schools and the programs, there is absolutely no reason why Bowie State should not be competing at the top of the CIAA in the 2 main sports consistently. It comes down to you got to put the right people in the right place to do the job. And so, listen, I'm looking. I'm looking. Especially when you're in a situation. How do I put this? Because I don't want to say too much. Because it's already enough pressure on, you know. But all I'm gonna say is this: I would be watching a sports team when you have a very good season, relatively speaking, a very good season compared to the last 8 years. You have one of the best seasons you've had in a long time, and immediately following that very good season, 90% of the team does not return. Listen, all I'm going to say is, man, some things got to get figured out and fast. But as far as this question goes, listen, it all depends on who's hired, how quickly and how effectively it's done. That's all. You know? But I ain't gonna say too much on that, man. I was ending the show. I had to stop it right there because I said, hold on. But all right. For real this time, man. I'm gonna holler at, hold on, what's this say? Yes. Because I'm not going to lie to you. You know what's – I can see by your comments, you know what sport I'm talking about. There's no reason why we should be struggling in that sport for that amount of time. But once again, we're going to see how the season goes. Then we're going to see what administration does about it. So we're going to see, what administration is all about real soon with this hire and this season that's going on right now. Because listen, man, once again, I'm not saying we're just supposed to be dominating and winning all the championships and all the sports all the time. But what I am saying is, once again, with the success that we've had, with the name recognition, with the campus, with the facilities and all that kind of stuff, being at the bottom is unacceptable. That's just unacceptable. I'm going to be real. When you look like, that's all I'm saying, man. No, man. There's no reason why we shouldn't be in the top third of the conference consistently. Once again, I'm not saying we winning all the time, but 3-7 shouldn't be happening. Single-digit win seasons in the sport that plays 30 games, that can't be happening. That's just no. So that's all I'm gonna say on that. But I'm gonna see some of y'all probably tomorrow at Union.
Screw you! You're fired! You're fired! You're fired! Whoa! You're fired!